if we continue to erroneously quote the fact that women make 77 cents for every man's dollar, when in fact, Black women make 64 cents, Latinas make 56 cents, and often Asian, Pacific Islander, and Native women aren't even included in the equation. Women of color have been helping hold the fabric of this country together for centuries, and so often, you don't even say our names. That invisibility is dangerous. As Sister Zora Neale Hurston told us, if you are silent about your pain, they can kill you and say you enjoyed it. So instead, I'd like to do what Sister Audre Lorde told us, to define ourselves for ourselves. To walk into our workplaces as our full selves, actualized and self-defined as women of color without apology. To never diminish our power for the comfort of dominant culture, to never quiet our voices to preserve someone else's fragility. To never undermine our values simply because we keep being told we don't fit the bill. Imagine telling the next Sonia Sotomayor that she might as well give up now because brown girls from the Bronx don't belong on the Supreme Court. Do you want to be responsible for what we'll all lose if she doesn't sit on that bench? Or imagine telling Maya Lin that her Eastern traditions are too strange for a Western art world. I think those veterans who would otherwise be honored by her design would want her talent. Imagine telling Michelle Obama, the next Michelle Obama, to quiet her voice, to make her image more conciliatory. I don't think that we want to be responsible for robbing the world of that magnificent leadership.
Great morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us in the R.E.A.L. Academy. I am Dr. Sheikah Houston, and I am joined by my trustmate, Dr. Tammy Taylor. Thank you all for your messages of congratulations last week. And we want to start off by saying happy birthday to Principal Kafele. We know that you and your wife are enjoying your vacation and your birthday. So our topic today is a continuation from last week. We're discussing the impact of Black women leaders. And we ended on the note that you saw in the introduction today, which is a powerful message that she gave, that TED Talk. And we ended last week by basically encouraging everyone to keep it real, just as she stated, as Black women leaders, lead in your authenticity and in your excellence unapologetically, because as Black women, we want to be respected in leadership. We want you all to feel confident in that authenticity, walking in excellence. We want you to find a trustmate, accountability partner, as Tammy and I have found in ourselves. And, we in schools, we definitely want you to lift up literacy and numeracy so that our children can excel. And again, just lead in that excellence and authenticity. So I'll let you say good morning, Tammy, while I bring up the slides and the comments.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone has had a wonderful week. We are, as Sheikah said, very excited to be able to come back this morning and talk about something that is so incredibly important today in the aspect of leading, because the impact that Black women principals have are profound. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we accentuate those things by bringing light to what is or can be transcending and life-changing. Because when you put the right people in the right places, you know that you can get a tremendous impact, as we had said before. So we're really, again, excited to be here, and so thankful for Principal Hertz message this morning, who, as always, did a phenomenal job of talking with us about how important it is to be in those classrooms and to be that person that teachers feel like they can get support from instead of being afraid of, and that leadership that can be provided by just being present and being in the classroom, and instead of coming at a teacher or even students from a deficit perspective, you come to them with a solution for what you'd like to see happening in that classroom through coaching and collaborative conversations. So, as Shika said before, we're going to pick up where we left off and start talking about who we are as Black women leaders.
And a lot of who we are too, sometimes that narrative is defined by some of the things that we say about one another. And we've talked about this in education in general, just changing the narrative, because a lot of times education and educators get a bad rap. A lot of times you hear lots of negative things about Black women in leadership. And I wanted to share this post, and I took off who the person was that posted it, because that's, that's not the energy we're bringing to this. We're just using this as an example. But what was posted was Black women as supervisors are the worst experience. And that made me really sad, especially as a Black woman leader. The fact that we were just talking about this and the impact of Black women in leadership last week. And sometimes Tammy and I have said this many times, we're women of faith. Sometimes God will give you confirmation, even, when things are negative, because the next thing that I saw posted to my page like a day or so later was a Black female that used to work at the school that I was the principal of. And she used that same exact post that I saw, which, sometimes things are messages from God. I disagree with this because, and she listed Diane Vance and Sheikah Houston are two of the best. And then I responded with, wow, I saw this post on another page. It made me sad. And that I appreciate her. And she just said that she appreciated everything that I did. And she thought that I was an awesome supervisor. So when we are talking about women in leadership, Black women in leadership specifically, one of the things that someone posted under that first negative post was, there's bad leaders in every ethnicity. You have probably had bad experiences or may have had bad experiences from more than just this Black person, this Black woman leader that you're under. So when we have these experiences, that's not what we should be spending our energy on, bringing collectively down Black women because of this bad experience that you may be having under this one person. And when Tammy and I were talking about it, that's one thing that we need to change, our own messaging, what we do to ourselves, but also what we're doing today, which is highlighting those things, those positive impacts that we do know Black women as leaders have made.
Definitely. One of the things we want from you guys too today, what is the reaction that you might have to a post like that? Because when we were talking about it, we were talking about like, what is that perception? Like who perceives that? Is it because of the negative experiences that you had with that particular individual, or is it because of your personal preferences or your personal bias with what you think leadership is supposed to look like? Because those things can cloud the judgment of the people who are involved in making the comment or being the person that the comment is made about. So there are different dynamics that have to be considered when you start talking about or generalizing how women lead, or how difficult it is to work for a Black woman. So it really made us think, like, what do you think about that? Like, how do you think that comes about? Why is that the way that some of us get perceived? And why is it that we are often judged by the standard that has been put into place about leadership, that's based on a Western, white male's perspective most of the time? So let us hear from you, like what your thoughts are about where that comes from. Where do you think those kinds of comments come from when you hear that?
And as people are formulating their thoughts and typing them in, when we were researching for this topic, one thing that we found was that when there is a failure in an organization, and they looked at how, amongst the failure, they looked at Black women, Black men, white women, and white men. And when the organization is failing, what they found was that Black women are rated even more negatively than everyone else forementioned when it's the same level of failure. So we found that to be interesting as well. That, Black women are at the bottom of that when they're the rating system, even in a failure of the same amount of failure, they're still rated even lower than all of their other counterparts.
And
But
that speaks to some of the things that we've experienced personally. Like you see that in action and you wonder, like, where in the world does that come from? And
mhm,
is that based on the fact that it is considered just a standard? Because one of the other things that we're going to talk about at some point, we may not have time to talk about it today, but statistically, we know, and you heard this in the video, like on the dollar, Black women are paid less than men get paid, or white women. And that it speaks to that whole conundrum that we face when we're trying to figure out, like, where does that come from? Is this something that, as Sheikah said before, are we going to really get reprimanded for something that the next person doesn't get a reprimand for, and it's the exact same scenario? And guess what? Sometimes we do
mhm.
indeed have that experience.
Exactly. And the whole reason behind this is, this was prompted through Tammy's work for her dissertation, where she's looking at the lived experiences of Black women principals. And what she found during her research is that there's not a lot of research surrounding the impact of Black women principals. We've found lots of conversations and things, stated, and but these are conversations that need to be had, and also information that needs to be brought to the forefront, just as you heard in the video. And Dr. Roz is correct. Principal Kafele did mention how Abbott Elementary is creating a huge debate about how Black women leaders are portrayed. And it's one that he says he can't even watch because of how negatively that leader is portrayed. And it is in fun, or like the humor is supposed to be surrounding it, but it is a really it is a really poor portrayal of a Black woman in leadership. I know it's all in fun and in jest, but it is there.
Is it it's a TV show?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, I believe. And there have been other shows that have portrayed leaders negatively, like The Office, because I actually like The Office, and that leader's not portrayed well either. It pokes fun at leadership
Mhm.
or leaders in general, but that one is specifically referring to Black women. Um, so Tammy did find something, some information that ties back to the video.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'll share this one statistic because I know we're getting close to our time, but it said that according to the National Center for Education Statistics, just 10% of principals are Black and 80% of public school teachers are white. These demographics actually highlight the isolation that Black women principals often experience, as well as the structural nature of their exclusion. So it goes on to say that previous research has been done on Black women and other minoritized groups, and that it suggests that the environment is a locus for microaggressions, which we'll talk a lot about in some coming weeks. But there is very little information still, though, on the Black woman and the experience that the Black woman has as a school principal, because it hasn't been studied specifically, which is what my study is.
Mhm.
So it gives that, it brings light to those lived experiences of Black women and helps us to put into perspective why we do some of the things that we do, and why um, the skill set that we bring to the table, often, even though it's overlooked as being truly a leadership skill, is something that helps us to guide our practice and to keep us real. And
Mhm.
that authenticity that we were talking about before allows us to be that person, because we don't mind being the nurturer, or we don't mind stepping into the role of mother, whether biologically we've been able to do that or not. We present ourselves in a way that we're there for the collective, and that's a part of what came through in the research that I was able to do.
Definitely. And a lot of what we have been reading and what we're finding is that Black women have acquired the life skills and experiences, and a lot of times we are very well trained to navigate racist and sexist environments, and we're still, even in that and the microaggressions, solution oriented, we're aspirational, and we're determined to make positive changes within our roles. So even though there may not be a lot of support, even though we are combating a lot of racism and sometimes sexism at a higher degree than other people, we are still able to get the job done. And those experiences are what our goal is to highlight. So we will continue this conversation. We know that there's a lot of people that have had some experiences, and we hope to highlight those on our other platform, the collaborative. And there's some organizations that you can also be a part of to make sure that you don't experience that isolation and leadership that Tammy talked about. And that's one reason why we really promote the fact that we are trust mates to one another, and we are very big proponents of collaboration, because if you try to navigate a lot of this alone, what you will find is just unnecessary stress that you shouldn't have to experience, when there is someone out there to be able to support you and probably has had some of the experiences that you're having or facing.
Or maybe experiencing them alongside you, like we had
Mm-hmm.
to kind of lean on one another. But as Sheikah said, the research says that frequently Black women principals feel like they are operating in isolation, and that creates that disconnect from being able to rely on or have that strong support system. And what we have to honestly be clear about too, we're not just saying that it has to be with another Black woman. That's important, and I would not trade the fact that I have somebody who knows exactly where I'm coming from and can say, hey, I see you, sis. I got it. I know what you're going through because I've been through it too, or I'm going through that too. You can find that support and you can find that strength in brothers. Like we could not have anybody who cheers us on more or supports us any better than Shawn Hurt. Principal Shawn Hurt is one of the reasons that we're here talking with you this morning. So we wherever you find that strength and wherever you find that networking, wherever you find that support system, those people can pour into you and help you. It doesn't matter. What you want is to make sure that you don't shut yourself off, to feel like you're isolated and in this by yourself. And one of the beauties of that is, as Principal Hurt talked about this morning, this PLN network. You don't have to go at this by yourself. You've got him starting us off. You've got us coming on next with trying to give you what we have. Then following you have Principal Kafele, who also has been someone who's poured into us to create the space for us to be able to do what we're doing. Then you can continue with that through tomorrow, when Josh and Chris and Dean are there to support you with Unlock the Middle. So you have spaces, is what we're wanting you to know. There is support. So you don't have to feel like you're in this by yourself.
Definitely, Tammy. And also, I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Dr. Ross Gaskins and Dr. Williams has more support. So, we are, like Tammy stated, a part of a great PLN where there's lots of support out here. And Principal Kafele definitely has paved the way and led the example with bringing people together through these types of platforms. And we appreciate him and Principal Hurt for their encouragement. And so we are going to end and continue next week. We hope that you continue to tune in, because we're going to be bringing more light to those impacts, those positive impacts of Black women in leadership, and discussing a lot of what Tammy has found through her research and what we have found as we're researching for this topic. So please be encouraged, all of you in leadership. And again, because we subscribe to the Africana womanism framework, this is not something to elevate Black women over Black men. This is nothing to pit us against one another.
We're in it together.
Because we are all in it together, most definitely. So again, happy birthday to Principal Kafele, and we hope you all join us next on his platform. He's all the way in Jamaica, gonna make us all jealous that we want to be there. And we will see you all next week, same time, 10:30. Thank you all.
Have a good rest of your day.